Hi, I'm very excited to have you here. Thank you for being here, Jeff Thurston.
Well, thank you for having me.
So, I've known you for many, many years. I would love for them that are watching to learn more about, I know you're from Master Supplements. How'd you get involved in Master Supplements? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I studied microbiology in college, got into research first out of college, and then paths diverged and got into organic agriculture. And I met my business partner at a conference teaching farmers how to use bacteria in the soil to get better crops. And he said, someday we have to start a business, and called me up one day. He said, are you ready? And I said, yep, let's go. We did. We started in 2002.
And what makes Master Supplements different from other probiotic companies out there? And I know you do more than just probiotics, but what makes your company stand out?
Well, having grown these bacteria, you understand their needs to survive, if you will. And so we knew that stomach acid was a significant barrier to survivability. Most people forgot what a logarithm is, but they generally will talk in logarithms of activity loss. Well, 2 logarithms is 99%. So that's about how much is killed going through the stomach. And so we knew how using seaweed to get things through the stomach. And then we knew that in growing them, they're grown and then they're put into a vat and washed, and then they're dropped into liquid nitrogen, and then they're put in a vacuum to dry them. So they're very fragile. And so we also knew that we needed to find a way to wake them up. So those are the 2 main things that we do. And then the third main thing that we do that's different from the majority of probiotic companies, we still use a glass bottle, which is critical.
And what is your thoughts on, for somebody going into a market or online for that matter, how do they know really what is a probiotic? Like, why should I take a probiotic?
Well, why should you take a probiotic? That's your first gift you got from mom before you got a whack on the fanny from the doctor. I mean, moms give babies bacteria, and so that's, and then in breastfeeding you get like a human milk oligosaccharide. It's not digestible by the human being. It's there to feed the bacteria that you just got. So that's the way Mother Nature intends us to start. So that your gut gets its good health in the beginning. And probiotics are, I like to say, they're like the police. They just sort of put things back in order so that your body can heal itself. You always want to go back to that original, or close to that original colonization that you got. And we're all very different because our moms were all very different. And where we grew up was very different. So everybody's got a little bit different microbiome. So the probiotics are just help you get things back together.
So when I go to buy a probiotic, I know for me, when I was first learning, and I know many people watching, they get a little confused. You turn over the bottle and it has all these things with billions and different strains. So as somebody that's just going in and learning about probiotics for the first time, let's say, how do I know really which one to buy? Like, where do I start? And what do those billions mean?
Okay, well, the billions are generally in terms of, they call CFU, which is a colony forming unit. So if you plate them out on a petri dish, 1 or 100 bacteria will be together and they'll form a colony. And so you count them, and that's how you get a number that says I have 10 billion or 5 billion or 500 million or whatever the number is. So that's a measure, but there are some significant things that you can glean from just looking at the label. If it says, I have a proprietary blend of bacteria, and they don't tell you how many billions, you really don't know what you're getting. They say they're there, but they're not telling you there's this many of this one, there's this many of this one. They're just saying they're there. Another thing is if they don't list a strain at the end, again, you don't know. Just as an example, Lactobacillus acidophilus. There may be 100 different strains of acidophilus, and not all are the best probiotics. So if they don't put the strain designation at the end, then you don't really know which one it is. So there's a lot of information you can look at on the back. And so if you see Lactobacillus acidophilus LA1, 10 billion, now you know exactly that there's 10 billion of that particular organism. You can look that one up online and you can see what that one can do to help you. But if it just says acidophilus, you have no idea which one it is and what it can do to help you.
And when do I take the probiotic?
Well, listen, how many people that are going to be out here listening have stress in their lives? Right? Stress is one of the hardest things on your gut. You drink alcohol, do you take birth control pills, do you take NSAIDs, do you take proton pump inhibitors? All of these things have an impact on your gut. So probiotics, you can take them, a couple times a week if you're in good health and you're not worrying about anything, and that's just preventative, if you will. Or if you're taking an antibiotic, you can take them at the same time, and it just will help with the idea that antibiotics kill everything, and probiotics can just sort of help your body maintain more normalcy. My personal preference is to take them at bedtime, but you can take them any time of day. Now, there's a lot of people out there that discuss, you should take it with a meal, or you should take it away from meals on an empty stomach, and that's all, depending on which side of the coin you're looking at, has to do with stomach acid. If you have it with a meal, the food, to some people it buffers the stomach acid, reduces it, and so the probiotics get through. Other people say, well, when you're eating food, it's increasing stomach acid, and so you want to take it away from food. So with us using that sodium alginate to get it through the stomach, I don't care. It has nothing to do with mealtime. It's just a matter of getting it into the gut where they can start to work.
And with those with autism, we've seen a lot of children, and they've been individuals with autism, I should say, of all ages, they find benefit in taking probiotics. And is that because of their microbiome?
Oh, yeah.
Having issues?
The microbiome, it's our second brain. And for every impulse that goes from here to the gut, there's 10 that go from the gut to the brain, telling the brain what to do. So and there's the vagus nerve, not Las Vegas, but VAGUS nerve. That's the communicator between the gut and the brain, and that connection is what drives everything. And many of these young individuals that are having autism and even older, a lot of it's gut-related issues. And can you fix it? No, but you can maybe help with symptoms. And if you can help symptoms, then maybe the child feels a little better. And if the child's feeling a little better, mom can feel a little bit better. It's like floating everybody's boat by just making everybody feel better. And moms should be taking them as well, simply because if she's not doing well, not feeling well, that's going to have an impact downstream to the child as well.
And her stress levels.
And her stress level,
yeah.
and that then starts to compound everything. So.
And now we've heard some people talk about enzymes and probiotics. Sometimes people get really confused. I've talked to many families, and they'll say, "Oh, I'm taking that probiotic," and they're taking an enzyme, or "Oh, I'm taking an enzyme," and they are taking a probiotic. How can we explain in a simple way, what's the difference between an enzyme and a probiotic?
Okay, a probiotic is a live organism. It's a bacterium or a yeast, but it's a live organism. An enzyme is a protein that has a specific task to do, which is to break a bond. So if you have two molecules together, the enzyme goes in and breaks it. And then it's released to go and do it again. Sort of like the key in your car. You can put it in, take it out, turn the key on and off. An enzyme does the same thing. And there's 4 basic groups of enzymes. You have the ones that digest fats, help break them down. You have ones that break down proteins. You have the ones that break down fiber, and the ones that break down carbohydrates. And they're very specific which ones they do. Each one is very specifically targeted to a different food that you're eating.
So when a parent's looking at it, if they're taking, can you take both at the same time?
Oh yeah. Okay. We have some in our company. We have a probiotic that has both enzymes and probiotics in there.
Okay. And we've seen some people have probiotics in the refrigerated section. What's your take on, do probiotics need to be refrigerated?
Yeah, they're best if refrigerated. Now, there are 2 different categories. There's, for instance, lactobacillus and bifidobacteria, the common ones you see on the back of the label. Those are, in many cases, of human origin. And then you have some spore-forming bacteria, which are the ones that are basically soil bacteria. So, they're all important. Babies get bacteria from mom, bifidobacteria, lactobacillus, and they go and crawl around on the floor, the dog licks their face or whatever, and they get bacillus. So it's all part of building your microbiome. Those that are spore formers, they don't need refrigeration. Right? The lactobacillus and bifidobacteria, they should be refrigerated. Now, a plastic bottle does not protect them as well as a glass bottle. We took our products and we put them at 100 degrees for 14 days, and we have minimal losses. So it's not the heat that gets them, it's the humidity.
That's why the
water
glass
because they
bottle.
are freeze dried,
Okay.
right? And so, and most people don't know, but for instance, if you have a cold surface and a moist area, there can be as much as 3,000 pounds per square inch of pressure for that water to go through that container to get into where it's cold. And plastic doesn't have the ability to protect as well as glass does.
So your recommendation is, yes, refrigeration is good to have, but the glass bottle is really important.
Right. So what I recommend for people is basically you can store it in the freezer or you can store ours in the refrigerator, unopened. And when you're ready to open it, take it out, put it on the counter, let it warm up to room temperature. And then open it and don't put it back in the refrigerator. It's going to be gone in 45 days, most likely, and used. And then they're not going to have any loss in there.
Okay, but each probiotic company might have a little bit different recommendations, but that's what you recommend.
That's what we recommend.
Now, I know you've been working with many, many families throughout the years with autism. If there was one thing you could tell parents with a recent diagnosis, what would that be? What would you tell them?
Wow. Actually, having gone through it in my family, a lot of what I would talk to them about is not necessarily going to be biomedical, because the stress on the family, and especially when it comes to school and things of that sort, what we learned and what it took us so long to learn, how you can help them is, when you go in and do that IEP with the school, how do you deal with that? Because you're a mom, you go in there, maybe husband goes in many cases that's already a ship that's sailed, and there's 12 people in the room telling you this is what you have to do. I would say, just spend the money, find an advocate, go in with an advocate, then all of a sudden there's you with the advocate and only 3 people. And now you can start to do what you really feel is important for your child in that regard. But as far as health is concerned, my number one thing is always diet, above all. Good, healthy foods, lots of fiber, and that's going to make the biggest difference in your microbiome, even more than the probiotics that we're going to have in our bottle.
I appreciate you being here, and thank you so much for all the years and all the knowledge and all the friendship you've given to so many families with autism.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay.